Eli Mercer stood quietly in the docking bay of the United Earth Embassy ship, holding his translator tablet close. Around him, everything shimmered in metallic blue. The ship was large and elegant, designed for diplomacy, not war. It was headed to Kirillin Prime, the capital of one of the most powerful alien empires in the galaxy. Eli wasn't a high-ranking official. He was just a language and culture specialist, trained to understand alien customs and behavior. Many people had told him he was too soft-spoken for politics. But someone in the council had noticed his work and sent him on this mission. When the ship landed, a warm light spread over the platform. Dozens of tall, glowing Kirillin guards stood in rows. Their uniforms sparkled like stars. In front of them stood a woman taller than the rest, with shifting silver and violet skin, long flowing robes, and a quiet kind of power in her eyes. Eli knew her face from the files. She was Queen Ysera, consort of the High Lord Threx, and ruler of the Empire's cultural branch. She was known for her beauty, her stillness, and her silence. It was said she rarely spoke, even in court. Eli stepped forward and bowed in the human tradition. When he raised his eyes, she was watching him, really watching him. Her gaze was deep-like. She wasn't just seeing his face, but something else behind it. Her eyes flashed a gentle color. For a moment he felt something strange, like a silent question had been asked, though no words were spoken. Envoy Eli Mercer, the Kirillin ambassador, announced. He comes from Earth with knowledge of speech, art, and custom. The queen tilted her head. Does he speak the old voice? She asked. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The old voice was an ancient form of their language, no longer used in the court. Most humans never learned it. Some Kirillins had even forgotten it. Eli stepped forward calmly. He pressed a button on his translator and spoke, not with a device, but in her ancient tongue. Slowly and clearly, with honor and open hands, I come from the blue world to learn and share. May our hearts meet in peace. The queen's eyes widened. Her lips curled into the smallest of smiles. She turned to the ambassador. I wish for this human to sit near me during the summit, she said softly. The ambassador hesitated. Queen, he is not a senior envoy. He has no rank. She turned her glowing gaze on him. He speaks the words of the ancestors. That is enough. Inside the crystal hall, diplomats from 25 species gathered. Floating drones recorded everything. The room shimmered with colors that shifted based on the mood of the discussion. Eli sat near the queen, feeling small among the powerful. Her husband, Lord Threx, entered later. He was tall and proud, wearing a crown of living light. Greet Eli. His face was cold and unreadable. During the talks, there were long debates about trade, space routes, and border laws. Eli didn't speak unless asked. He simply watched and listened. But Queen Ysera sometimes leaned close and whispered to him. What does this Earth phrase mean? Walking in someone else's shoes? Eli smiled. It means imagining life from another person's point of view. It's how we understand each other. She nodded, thoughtful. Later she asked, why do humans sing stories? Sometimes music carries more feeling than words, he answered. She was quiet after that, but her hand brushed his arm once, softly as if she was testing the idea of connection. That evening, there was a formal gathering in the Star Gardens. Floating lights drifted among tall, glowing trees. Alien music played slow, echoing sounds like deep rivers. Eli wandered alone. Taking in the sights, he found the queen standing beside a glowing pool. Her reflection shimmered in the water, but she didn't seem to be looking at it. You walk quietly, she said. I didn't mean to disturb you. You didn't. She turned to him. It's court. Everything is spoken for show, but you speak to understand. He nodded. That's what I was trained to do. She tilted her head. Were you trained to feel as well?
The question?
Caught him off guard? I don't know, he said honestly. I think humans feel first, then learn what it means later. She laughed soft and unexpected. That is a strange kind of wisdom. Eli looked up at the stars. Do you ever wish you could be just a traveler? Not a queen? She was silent for a long time. And yes, every day. They stood quietly, side by side, saying nothing more. The next morning, rumors spread through the diplomatic channels. The queen had refused her usual ceremonial seat. She had chosen to walk among the delegates, instead asking questions, listening, touching their hands lightly like a curious traveler. Lord Threx was not seen that day. Eli was summoned again. The queen asked him to teach her human ways of communication, like storytelling and emotion mapping. He asked her why. She answered simply, "Because when I saw you, I remembered who I used to be." The sun on Corellon Prime didn't shine the way it did on Earth. It pulsed gently through the thick sky, casting a soft golden glow across the palace walls. Everything in the capital city moved slowly, graceful and quiet, like music underwater. Eli. Mercer walked through the garden courtyard, escorted by a young Corellon aide. His translator device rested in his pocket, but he rarely needed it now. He was starting to understand the Corellon language without help. He had been summoned again, not to the council chambers, but to a quiet private hall known only as the Chamber of Whispers. Their queen, Yeshua, was waiting. She wore a robe of soft blue, and her skin shimmered with peaceful silver tones. Her eyes were calm but curious. "You came," she said. "I said I would," Eli replied. Bowing politely, she motioned for him to sit across from her on a round platform that floated just above the floor. Around them, tiny lights sparkled in the air like gentle fireflies. The space was designed for energy communion, something sacred among her people. "I want to learn more," she said softly. "Not just about your words, but how you feel them." Eli blinked. "Feel them?" "Yes, humans speak with emotion. You laugh when you are nervous. You speak fast when excited. We do not show these things, but I want to understand them." Ali nodded slowly. "All right, let's begin with something simple. A story." He told her about an old Earth tale about a young girl who gave up her crown to follow her dream of painting stars. Yushera listened without interrupting, her glowing eyes fixed on his face. When he finished, she whispered she gave up. Everything for something invisible. "No," Eli said. "She gave up everything for something she believed in." The queen was quiet. Then she said, "That story is not fiction." Eli smiled. "Not for some people." Over the next few days, their lessons continued. Eli taught her how to express emotion through storytelling, how to reflect empathy through voice, and how to connect through shared memory. One afternoon, he brought music from Earth's soft melodies, played by violin and piano. He explained how humans used music to show feelings when words weren't enough. Yashira closed her eyes as the music played. When it ended, her skin glowed with warm gold. "I understand now," she said softly. "Emotion is not a weakness. It is truth in another form." Outside the quiet chambers, rumors spread through the palace. Some said the queen was acting strangely. Some said she had gone too far. Others whispered that Lord Threx was growing angry. He had always ruled with quiet control, using tradition and position to maintain order. He saw emotion as dangerous, something messy and unpredictable. But Yashira no longer followed every rule. She began walking through the gardens alone, speaking directly to visitors, even smiling when pleased. Court was unsettled. Whispers grew louder. One evening, after a long session of storytelling, Eli leaned back and asked gently, "Are you afraid of how people will see this?" Yashara looked at him carefully. "I am not afraid. I am awakening." He nodded. "And what about Lord Threx?" For the first time, her glow dimmed slightly. "I was promised to him as a symbol. Not as a choice. I performed my duty. I stood beside him. But he never saw me." Eli looked into her eyes. "But I see you." She smiled. It was small, but real. The next day, a formal banquet was held in the Great Crystal Hall. Eli was told not to attend, only high officials were invited. But as the event began, a royal guard appeared at his quarters. "Her Majesty has requested your presence," the guard said simply. Eli followed, dressed in simple but respectful robes. When he entered the hall, every eye turned toward him. Lords and nobles sat in curved rows. At the center table sat Lord Threx, his face calm but cold. Queen Yshyra stood beside him, but then, slowly she stepped away from him and walked down the steps toward Eli. The entire room was silent. Yshyra stood beside Eli and spoke clearly. This human has shown me a different path. He has reminded me that I am more than a symbol. Whispers echoed through the room. I am still queen, she continued, but I will no longer live without truth. I will learn. I will feel. I will not be silent anymore. She turned toward the crowd. Let it be known that I choose to walk a path of change, and I will walk it with those who respect freedom, not power. She looked at Eli again, not with possession, but with trust. After the banquet, the city buzzed with talk. Some feared chaos. Others felt hope. Eli returned to his chambers late. His heart full of confusion. He hadn't come here for power. He hadn't tried to influence the queen, but something real had happened between them. The next morning, a message appeared on his screen. Come to the East Garden. There's something I wish to show you. He arrived to find Yshyra waiting alone, dressed in soft green dot in her hands. She held a small object of painting made by her own hand. It showed two stars, one bright and blue, one soft and silver, drifting through space, not touching but glowing side by side. It's my first painting, she said. Eli smiled. It's beautiful. She looked up at him. It's like the story you told me. We do not always need to belong to someone. Sometimes we just need to be truly seen. They stood together under the strange golden sky, quiet but not alone. The sky over Kirillin Prime was glowing a deep violet as the Festival of Unity began. It was a rare event, held only once every 10 Earth years. Leaders from across the galaxy had arrived. Lights floated above the palace towers, and soft music echoed through the air like falling stars. Eli Mercer stood at the edge of the grand hall, dressed in formal robes gifted by the queen herself. His heart beat a little faster than usual. He was just a cultural envoy, yet now everyone knew his name. Some greeted him with curiosity, others with quiet suspicion. But one thing was clear: Eli was no longer invisible. Across the room, Queen Yshyra stood with quiet confidence. Her robes shimmered with blue and gold, and her presence was calm but powerful. She smiled when her eyes found Eli, then walked toward him slowly. Are you ready? She asked. Eli nodded. I've never been part of a festival like this before. Yshyra tilted her head. That's why I want you in it, not beside me, but as yourself. He was surprised. What do you mean? You bring something we forgot long ago, feeling, story, connection. I want you to share those things tonight. Not as a performance, as a gift. The festival opened in the Central Harmony Garden, a circular space surrounded by silver trees and glowing flowers. A large group of alien leaders gathered, each wearing the symbols of their people. They stood in silence, waiting for the program to begin. Yshyra stepped forward and addressed them with a calm voice. For generations, this festival has been about formality, ritual, show. But tonight I offer something different. She raised her hand gently, and Eli stepped forward. This human, she continued, reminded me that connection is not built only by rules, but by truth. I invite him to share something from his world. Eli swallowed his nervousness and stepped onto the central platform. He looked at the crowd. Aliens of every shape and size stared at him, some curious, some bored. He began with a story. It's a simple tale, Eli said. It's from a small country on Earth. It's about two neighbors, one from the mountains, one from the sea, who didn't speak the same language. At first, they fought over a border. Then one day, one of them offered the other a painted rock with a flower on it. He paused. They still didn't understand each other's words, but they both understood beauty. The crowd was quiet. No one moved, Eli continued. From that day, they left messages in color, not in speech. Years later, they were friends not because they argued better, but because they learned to share without fear. As he finished, he stepped back. At first, no one spoke. But then, one of the visiting ambassadors, being with soft feathers and crystal eyes, clapped their hands together slowly. Another followed. then another. The garden was soon filled with soft applause. Yashara smiled. "Thank you, Eli. You reminded us what unity can feel like." After the speeches, the celebration began. Dancers moved in soft circles, their feet glowing with light. Tables were filled with foods from many worlds. And near the center, Queen Yashara had arranged a special display, the Wall of Feelings. Each visitor was invited to leave a piece of themselves there. Not a name, not a title, but a symbol, a color, a drawing, sound. Eli walked past and saw a swirling pattern of shapes and voices. One alien had left a song, another a painting, a third. Just a scent in the air. He looked beside him and saw Yashira holding a small object, her painting from the garden, the two stars floating close, but not touching. She pressed it onto the wall where it glowed softly. Eli smiled. She turned to him. "I've always meant it. I just forgot how to show it." Later that evening, as the stars rose above Corellan Prime, Queen Yashira and Eli found themselves alone near the Bridge of Light, a place where the city's soft lights reflected into the sky like rivers. "You gave them something tonight," she said. "So did you." She paused. "Do you know what they will say tomorrow?" Eli nodded, that the queen has changed, that the human is to blame. Yashira looked into the sky. "Maybe I have changed. Maybe you are to blame, but change isn't always bad." "I agree," Eli said softly. She stepped a little closer. "You've shown me a different way to rule, not by fear, not by silence, but by seeing people, truly seeing them." Eli looked at her. "And do you feel seen now?" She gave a quiet nod. "For the first time in many cycles, yes." Far away, in the tall towers of the royal palace, Lord Threx watched from his private chamber. His expression was unreadable. His hands were folded calmly, but his eyes burned with thought. He did not speak. As the Festival of Unity came to an end, Yashira made one final announcement. "This will not be the last time Earth shares its voice in our halls," she said. "From now on, we welcome stories, songs, and truth, no matter the form it comes in." Eli stood beside her. He wasn't royalty. He wasn't rich. But tonight, his presence changed something ancient, and in the hearts of many who had watched, a seed had been planted, the seed of connection without fear. The morning after the Festival of Unity was calm. But the city of Corellan Prime was not. Every news wave across the empire buzzed with questions. Some praised the queen's new way of thinking. Others were shocked by her closeness with the human. Envoy. There were headlines like, "The queen stands beside a human, old traditions broken. What's next for Corellan?" Who is Eli Mercer? Inside the palace, Queen Yashara walked slowly through the Hall of Ancients, where the statues of past rulers stood tall and silent. She paused at one of the oldest ones, a queen who had once ended a 1,000-year war by making peace instead of conquest. Yashara whispered, "Oh, you changed everything." Without lifting a weapon, footsteps echoed behind her. Eli Mercer entered, dressed simply, as always. He bowed slightly. "You wanted to see me?" She turned. Her expression was gentle, but there was a seriousness in her eyes. "Today," she said, "I will face the Council of Houses. They demand an explanation for the choices I've made, especially about you." Eli nodded. "I understand. They think I'm losing control. They believe I'm weakening the crown." "You afraid?" he asked. She shook her head. "Not anymore. But I must choose stay silent and safe, or speak truth and risk everything." Eli looked at her for a long moment. "Then speak your truth. You're not alone." In the center of the High Council Hall, 1,000 nobles sat in curved rows. Their robes glittered, and their expressions were cold. Lord Threx stood near the throne, tall and proud. He spoke first. "Our queen has changed," he said. "She walks among commoners. She shares secrets with a foreign envoy. She breaks our quiet ways. We must decide if this is the path of a ruler or of a dreamer." There was silence. Then Yashara stepped forward. Her presence filled the hall knot. Loud but steady, like a rising tide. "I have not changed," she said. "I have remembered who I am." Whispers filled the air. I was trained to be perfect, calm, silent, a symbol. But I am more than a symbol. I feel, I think, and I choose. She turned to Lord Threx. I was given to you by tradition. But tradition, without meaning, is an empty shell. Gasps echoed across the room. I no longer accept the role of consort. I will remain queen not as a decoration, but as a true voice of the people. Lord Threx's face stayed still, but his eyes narrowed. And the human? Yashira answered clearly, Eli Mercer is not my master. He's not my property. He is my mirror. He helped me see again. He reminded me that leadership is not silence, it is courage. The hall went completely quiet. Outside, people gathered around screens to watch the speech. Across the empire, millions listened. Eli remained near the back of the hall, watching. He didn't smile. He didn't try to interrupt. He just stood still, hands at his side. Like a silent support beam holding up a roof no one else could see. When Yashira finished, one of the elder council members stood. You break thousands of years of order with a few words, the elder. Shader replied, words are what build the future. Without them, we are only statues. That night, the royal seal was changed. Yashira's title was rewritten, Sovereign Queen of Corellon by will, not by binding. For the first time in their long history, a ruler had chosen to step away from arranged duty and into personal truth. Lord Threx left the capital quietly with no formal protest. He did not speak to the press. He left behind a note for the council. Let her rule as she wishes. The crown is heavier than she knows. In the days that followed, Yashira invited leaders from many planets to join new cultural circles groups. Where different species could share art, music, and belief systems, Eli was asked to lead the first circle. He called it the Garden of Voices. In it, people didn't debate. They listened. They told stories. They painted feelings. They used memory, color, sound, and heart to understand one another. One visitor said, this place feels more like home than home. In a quiet moment, Eli sat with Yashira beneath a soft canopy of glowing trees. Everything is different. Now, he said. She nodded. And yet it feels more real than ever. He turned to her. Do you regret anything? She looked at him for a long time. Only the years I stayed quiet. Eli didn't reach for her hand. He didn't need to. They sat in peaceful silence, breathing the same air, looking up at the sky that stretched across both their worlds. A warm breeze moved gently across the palace gardens of Corellon Prime. The lights in the sky were soft, and the leaves on the tall glowing trees shimmered with calm silver hues. Eli Mercer stood beside a transport pod, his small bag packed for the journey. He looked back once more at the grand towers, the curved bridges, and the peaceful gardens he had walked through so many times in the past weeks. Today was leaving. His time on Corellon Prime had changed everything. Not only for the Queen, not only for the Empire, but also for himself. He had arrived as a quiet envoy, who is now a symbol of something greater, a bridge between two worlds. Queen Yashira arrived with no guards, no grand entrance, only a soft smile and light steps. You're really going back to Earth? She asked. For a little while, Eli said. I was never meant to stay forever. I'm still a guest. You were never just a guest, she replied. There was a long silence between them. It was not empty. It was full of understanding. I want to see Earth with my own eyes, she said. Not through your stories, but through my own experience. You'll be welcome there, Eli replied. People will want to know you, not just as a queen, but as a person. That's all I've ever wanted to be, she whispered. The pod lifted into the air with a soft hum. It was a small diplomatic craft with Earth designs. Inside, the walls glowed softly, and the control panel was simple and clean. Yashira sat beside Eli, her long robe folding around her like soft waves. She looked out the window as the city of Corellon Prime grew smaller beneath them. I always thought the palace was the center of the universe, she said. Now it feels like just one piece of a much bigger picture. That's how I felt. The first time I saw the stars, Eli said with a quiet smile, They looked out together as the craft passed through the upper atmosphere. The stars stretched out before them like a great ocean of light. The journey to Earth. It took several days through deep space channels. The ship moved calmly, guided by energy waves that pulsed gently like a heartbeat. During the trip, Eli and Yashira spent time in the observation deck. There, he showed her simple things: Earth poems, music, food recipes, and children's drawings collected by the human embassy. She especially loved a small drawing. It's made by a 7-year-old child. It showed a human and an alien holding hands under a rainbow. "This is beautiful," Yashira said softly. "It's not complex," Eli said. "No, that's why it's beautiful." When the ship entered Earth's orbit, Yashira sat quietly, watching the blue planet turn slowly below them. The clouds, the oceans, the green land, it was unlike anything she had seen before. "I didn't expect it to feel so alive," she said. Eli smiled. "Earth is messy, loud, complicated, but it's full of feeling." As they landed in the human diplomatic city, a peaceful coastal zone designed for alien visitors, they were greeted with quiet respect. No parades, no flashing cameras, just a small team of Earth representatives and children holding flowers. "Why?" Shara accepted a single white flower from a girl and bent down. "Thank you," she said kindly. The girl whispered, "Are you a real queen?" Yashara smiled. "I'm learning to be." The next few days were quiet but full. Eli took Yashara to museums and libraries. They walked through parks and watched families play. She listened to music in street cafes and learned to paint with her hands in a public art studio. She didn't wear a crown. She wore simple clothes, soft earth fabric. It's because with colors she chose herself. For the first time, she wasn't followed by guards or watched by councils. She was free to feel, to ask questions, to laugh. And she did. Eli saw her laugh with a child. Chasing pigeons, he saw her cry softly while reading a book of earth poetry. He saw her pause in awe at the sound of wind blowing through tall grass. These were moments no crown could ever give. One evening, as the two sat beside a quiet lake, the sun setting behind them, Yashira turned to Eli. "Do you think people can change completely?" Eli thought for a moment. "I think we don't change who we are. We just stop hiding it." She nodded. "It's what you helped me do. You didn't push me. You just showed me who I already was." Eli looked into the water, the reflection of the two of them rippling in the lake. "I never planned any of this," he said. "I know," she replied. "That's what made it real." The next day, Yashira stood in front of the Earth Corellan Cultural Council. She gave a short but powerful speech. "I came here not as a ruler, but as a learner," she said. "And I have learned that peace is not only signed in treaties, it grows in gardens, stories, and friendships." After the meeting, she turned to Eli. "I'm ready to return." He nodded. "I'll come with you." She shook her head gently. "Not yet. Your world still needs your voice." There was silence between them once, again, but not sadness. "I'll wait for the stars to bring us back together," I said. Eli smiled. "They will." A soft golden light rose over the spires of Kirlan Prime. The city had changed. It was not loud. It was not sudden, but it was clear. People no longer walked in straight, silent lines. The Queen's Garden, once closed to all but nobles, was now filled with families, artists, and students. Laughter echoed quietly under the glowing trees. Queen Yashira had returned. But she had not returned to power the way others expected. She had returned with vision, and her first message was simple: let truth and expression guide us. Inside the new Hall of Harmony, a large dome built with glass and light, the Cultural Council of Corellan held its first gathering under new law. No longer a chamber of silence, it was now a space of shared voices, one where humans, aliens, and Chirellans all had a seat. Eli Mercer joined the meeting as a guest speaker. He wore a robe gifted by Yashira, woven with threads from both earth and Kirellan cloth. Around his neck was the silver star pendant she had given him, simple but full of meaning. When he stepped onto the floor, all eyes turned to him. He spoke calmly, his voice clear. I am not a ruler. I'm not a warrior. I'm not special, Eli said. I'm just someone who listened. He looked around the hall. You asked why the queen trusted a human? The answer is this: because humans believe in change. Not because it is easy, but because it is needed. There was silence, but not from resistance. It was a silence of deep thinking, and when he finished, the applause was real. Back in her private chamber, Queen Yashara stood before a wide mirror of water. She had removed her crown and placed it inside a glass case, not because she had abandoned it, but because she no longer wore it out of duty. She now ruled by choice. Her advisors had suggested building statues of her, writing long songs about her return. She refused. Let the people speak for themselves, she said. Their voices are the future. Later that day, Yashara called for Eli to join her in the floating garden pavilion. The two had not seen each other in person since her visit to Earth. When Eli arrived, he found her watering a small tree with blue leaves. She wore simple robes, her hair loose, her glow soft and steady. You didn't need to water the tree yourself, Eli said with a smile. It's a living thing, she replied. Why should I ask others to care for something I love? Eli stepped beside her. I saw the city. It's different now. It's not perfect, she said. It doesn't need to be. She looked at him, the silver of her eyes catching the garden light. You taught me that. He nodded. We taught each other. That evening, a quiet celebration was held in the Harmony Garden. There were no parades, no music shows, no banners. Instead, artists, storytellers, dancers, and poets shared their work with each other. No one performed for status. Everyone simply expressed what they felt. A young Kirellan girl painted her dream of walking on Earth's beaches. A human elder shared a song written in both languages. A dancer from a distant world spun slowly to a tune made only of wind and in. The center of it all sat Yashara and Eli, watching with peaceful eyes. They didn't speak much that evening. They didn't need to. As the stars rose above the city, Yashara turned to Eli. I have something to ask you, she said. Eli looked up. Anything? She took a breath. Will you stay? Not as a guest, not as an envoy, but as my partner in building something new. Eli was silent for a moment. Then he said, You don't need me to lead. I don't, she agreed, but I'd like you to walk beside me, as a friend, as someone who reminds me why I began. Eli smiled. Then yes, I'll stay. Weeks later, the Star Accord was signed. It was not just a peace treaty. It was a new promise between Earth and Kirillana's shared mission of learning, expression, and respect. Eli was named the first cultural bridgekeeper, a title made for him alone. He would not rule, he would guide. And Yeshra remained queen, not because of history, but because her people chose her one night. As a soft breeze moved across the palace balcony, Eli stood looking out at the lights below. Yashara joined him, holding 2 cups of herbal tea. It's strange, Eli said, how one meeting can change so much. She nodded. The day I saw you, I thought nothing would come of it. And now I know that real change doesn't shout, it whispers, like a story at the edge of sleep. We stood together, side by side. No longer just queen and envoy, no longer strangers, just 2 beings each, changed by the other. Each carrying the light of a shared beginning.